Hey everybody, welcome to part one of our video as we make these picture holders. If you want to see how we put these together and made this look, then stick around for part one and then look forward to part two. This is Resin Together, where we work together to make functional custom art out of resin. Hey everybody, welcome to Resin Together. Today we're working on making a new project. As you see, we have a really big mold. This is actually a coaster mold from Crafted Elements. Love their molds for big stuff. They're a little bit on the pricey side, but they will last forever. I have gotten several of their molds. So what we have is some chunks of walnut that we're going to use. I want to make these into like picture holders, and we're going to use the natural slope of the wood to make what looks like a riverbank. We're going to add some rocks and things like that, so I think it's going to be pretty. I hope it is. If not, then we'll have learned something as we resin together that it didn't work out, but we're going to try that. So what I've got is 8 ounces of my Clear Cast 7000 resin. It's ready to go. And then to that, we're going to add a new color that I just got in. That is the Black Diamond Midnight Blue. Midnight Blue, that's a new one. It's very, very dark, obviously, Midnight Blue. So let's mix it up and see how it's going to look. I'm going to use this as the first layer, kind of that river bed, if you want to think of it that way. So I want a nice dark color to get a contrast for the rocks and the sand and things like that we're going to mix in. So I'll mix this up and then we'll see. I'll show you how it looks and I'll be right back. Alright, so we are back. It is a nice dark, almost metallic blue. I think that's going to look great for our river bed. On top of that, we're going to add probably a very light transparent blue, maybe alcohol ink or transparent pigment. And then we're going to add some rocks around the bank and fill it to almost to the top, or if right to the top, with clear resin, so we get that depth of color. I think that's going to look great. So here's what the Midnight Blue looks like mixed up. Nice shimmery. I think it's going to look good. Now I mixed up 8 ounces of resin. My calculator says I need 6. I use a calculator online. There's a lot of different ones you can use. You measure the width and the length of what you're doing and then the depth you want to pour to. This is a tabletop resin. It's not a casting resin, so we only want to go about 1/4 inch. So I actually mixed up a little bit extra. I should have done about 5.5, 6 ounces. I did 8 because I'm pretty sure it's going to sneak in between the blocks here and maybe a little bit under. So we'll have to sand and clean that up after the fact. So I'm accounting for that because I want to get a good layer but not too thick on here. So let's go ahead and pour that and then see how it looks. Alright, just a little bit left in there. I'm going to hold that for right now. I'll probably end up pouring it in my pyramid that I use for extra resin. But for right now, I'll hold on to it because I'm going to use the heat gun to knock the bubbles out. Oh, let me get this off. Get that out of there because that blue mica powder will definitely leave a stain on the wood, which I can sand out, but a little less sanding will be good. Alright. Don't need those. Take those off. There we go. Alright, so that's looking pretty good. Got a few little hair pieces in there. I don't know where they came from. There we go. All right. There we go. So that is looking good. We're gonna let this cure. I'll probably come back in a little bit. Wow, hair everywhere today. Probably come back in a little bit, touch it with the heat gun again, just to get those bubbles out. I didn't pre-treat or seal the ends of the wood. Now, there's some debate about that. Some people say you should do that. Some people you don't. What I have heard, I've never experienced, is if you seal the ends with epoxy, then when you go to do your regular pour, that pour would be curing to the epoxy, not into the wood. So there's a potential for it to break. I don't know, but I don't. I just manage the bubbles as they come up. So we're going to let this start to cure and get this a little bit tacky enough that it'll hold the rocks. And then we'll start putting rocks and sand into here, and we will keep building our layers until we're up to the top. So I'm excited to see how this turns out, and we'll be back when we're ready to go for the next layer. Hey everybody, welcome back. So our pitcher holders are doing well. The resin, that little light layer or thin layer of the midnight blue resin has cured hard. So I went ahead and took sandpaper and scratched it and roughed it up so that our new resin will take and hold on to that. Now normally I would pour another layer of resin while it was still tacky, but in this case we're using the deep pour epoxy, so it would set up in a couple days, so it wouldn't really bond well to this. So instead we're going to use mechanical bonding by running sandpaper over it, just like 320 grit, just to scratch the surface a little bit. Don't worry about it looking cloudy, just clean it off with water, let it dry. And then when the new resin gets in there, it's going to fill in all those scratches, so you're not going to see them. So don't worry about that. So we're using the super clear liquid glass that is a deep pour epoxy for today. And I've got several, I guess, accessories, whatever you want to call them, that we're going to use. So I've got some river rocks that are smooth that are going to go in one. We're going to make like a river. And then I've got some brown coarse sand that will go well. And then we also have some white sand, or actually this is aquarium gravel, but nice white gravel. And then finally some assorted little miniature shells to put in. So I think we're going to make a river and then do 2 tries at a beach scene. Now I'm not going to try to emulate waves or anything like that. That's not my specialty, not something I'm very good at, but we may try that one day. But I just want to prove that this will work for right now. So let's start with the rocks. I'm just gonna, let me scoop this over so you can see it. There we go. Just gonna kind of pour them in, make a bank out of them. Let's get some in there. Just want to fill up this little spot right here with some small pieces. Doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, the more irregular it is, the more realistic it's going to look. And don't be afraid to get some right near the top, because it's going to look great if some of these pieces actually stick up out of the resin a little bit. You want to get them adhered, but it'll give it that 3D effect. So I'm good with that. We didn't need many of those. I'll put those back in the bag. And then let's do our, not sure how this is going to work. Let's see. There we go. Little piece of plastic. Try not to get it too manicured looking. And then let's see if we can this will work. Kind of push it back a little bit. Try to get those stray pieces of sand back against the bank, so to speak. Little flakes of like plastic or something. There we go. There we go. All right. Good with that. Now let's put some of these hopefully these don't float too much. Joke's gonna be on me if they do, but we'll figure it out. If they do, we'll one step at a time. There. All right, and last but not least, the white. Maybe this will help. Nope, it's just gonna go everywhere. Just kind of sweeping it back. There we go. All right, let's put a few shells on our white beach, white sandy beach here. There we go. Try to use the ones that aren't quite so white so they stand out a little bit. That's a pretty one. Okay, we'll call that good. A little less shells on the white beach, I guess, on the white sandy beach. All right, there we go. Now the moment of truth. Let's pour the resin and see what happens. I'm hoping these shells won't float, but they might. But we'll start down here with our rocks. Just gonna pour it slow and let it kind of percolate between the rocks. There we go. Got a little full on that one, but it'll be alright. I'll just have to clean that up a little bit. Alright, let me let that kind of soak in. Alright, well, good. A little too much on that one, so let me see if I can transfer some. Now, I'm not worried about this because I'm going to have to sand the top smooth, so don't let that bother you. Just going to borrow a little bit more. There we go. Let's see if I can push some of this back. Because it'll make it easier to not have to sand it if it's too, it's not too bunched up. So try to push that back. There we go. Well, I think that looks good. The sand definitely got darker. I need to, we'll see how that goes. We may need to do a flood coat just to kind of push everything in. But I think overall it looks good. I'm going to take a hot gun and clear off some of these bubbles so we get a crystal clear resin. But I think this is looking good, and I think it might be a project that will do well. So we'll come back when it's time to pop all this out of the mold, and then we'll start doing our cleanup and sanding. Alright everybody, so as you see, we have removed our picture holders from the mold. I'm sorry we didn't have an unmolding video. That's my fault. I forgot to actually hit record on the camera when I unmolded them. So unfortunately you can't see me do that. But here's what they look like. Very pretty. Kind of a white beach with the shells in it. Nice from the side. You can see kind of that profile. I think that turned out really nice. And then the same with this one, of course. Kind of give a profile of it. This way, there we go. You can see the shells and the sand stayed up above the level, which is what I wanted. I wanted it to look like a bank in water. The blue underneath I think turned out very well. And then finally kind of our river rocks. Again, the resin covered some of them, but they also stick up. Really gives it a depth effect to it. And from the side there. So this will be the end of this part. We'll do the rest of it in another video. I'm gonna clean up the edges and then cut these, and of course I'll need to sand the tops, and then we're gonna cut a slot. I need to get some picture frames. The ones I've ordered won't work. I thought I knew what I was getting on Amazon, but as often happens when I actually got it, turned out it wasn't what I wanted. So I'll have to look for some of those. I'm gonna use glass clip frames to do that, and just cut a slot that they'll sit in the top, and then I'm just going to finish them very simply with some neutral wood oil. But I'll do all of that in another video so you can see that process, and you'll see us finish these. So we'll be back in part 2 as we finish these. So I want to thank you for joining us, and I hope you look forward to seeing that. Give us a like on the video if you like projects like this, so I know that we should do more of them. And make sure you please subscribe. I know we don't always think about subscribing, but likes and subscribes really help our channel. As you do that, other people get it. It brings attention to it. So I would highly encourage you, go ahead and do that right now. It really helps with everything in that. But most of all, thank you for joining us as we resin together.